at home.
Bonjour, residents. Jamie in the house. How are you? All good in the hood, I hope, and hopefully you like my new mics out. We literally, everything that we do here is last minute. I'm telling you now, I was like, oh, let's stick with the things that work, that we know is good. And it's like, well, no, we've got 20 minutes. We've got time to tinker. And now we've committed to it. Now we need to change. And now we've got 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left. And I like it because it's Monday. You need to challenge yourself that early in the day. So yeah, it's all good. I'm very excited, ladies and gents, because I have a very special guest on. And before I introduce this guest, I just want to explain how we came across doing this live. I was speaking to Paul Mort, a good friend of mine, last week, and he said, you want to have a chat with this guy. He's lost over 100 kilos over the last few years. And for me, anyone who has had that much of a transformation has probably got a lot of wisdom to share, not only from myself to learn, but from my audience too. So, ladies and gents, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Mr. Chris Tibbetts. Chris, how are you?
I'm really good, Jamie. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. It's Monday, and
It's Monday.
This is the kind of the perfect way to start Monday, by getting fired up and motivated, because I'm fascinated by just what Paul said to me, that you've lost over 100 kilos, and that, I suppose that since, was that 2011, was it, Chris?
That's when I started. Yeah, 2011. Yeah, that was a kickstart.
So at your heaviest, you weighed over 33 stone.
Yes,
is that correct? So,
yeah.
Firstly, I think, Chris, what was life like at 33 stone?
Hard, but at the time I didn't think it was hard. But when I look back at it now, I struggled to breathe at night. I was slow. I was lethargic. You know, I still played golf, but I was the first one to jump on the golf buggy. And clothes shopping was always that. When you start to get to the top range of Giacomo's clothes, you know you're in problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was getting tough, and it was like thinking, just all the sort of emotional pressure that because I found comfort in food, it was almost like never-ending cycle of despair, because you'd like get depressed about it, then you'd eat some more, and it was really tough. The jelly bean picture.
Yeah.
So
I've got this one up too that you just sent to me. So
yeah.
when you kind of look back on these, Chris, what goes on in your head when you see these pictures that you sent to me?
It's quite I wouldn't say upsetting, but when I look back at that person now, I see the pain in him, and I see the unhappiness in him, and this facade. And I think I used my weight and my size, because I'm just under 6'4", so I'm a big guy, and everyone used to go, "Hey, big lad," and that was their terminology to me. And I used to just use the fat as a sort of buffer to protect myself from the world, and to protect myself from how I was feeling inside, and all of the insecurities that I had. And I would just be big and jolly, and it would be okay. And I never really actually looked at myself. That was the thing. I've been trying to find photos, and they're so few and far between, because I used to be very good at hiding out of photos, and they were just caught on the pure. Those two were caught on a business trip out of sheer luck, because normally I hid away. Or I have a photograph taken in the swimming pool with my head under the water, head just popping out the water, so you couldn't see the body. Yeah, so it's
But
it's
now,
really tough.
I think this is an awesome one that you sent me, Chris, because just the smile on your face it says it all, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that was interesting. My wife, so when lockdown started, obviously I'm working with Paul Mort, and we do sort of 90-day objectives. And my wife bought me this pair of Hugo Boss jeans at 36-inch waist. Now, Hugo Boss is a very tight brand. I think a bit tight fitting, and maybe 36 probably is not a 36. So I said, right, my objective was to get into them in 90 days, and that was the pure focus, and that was day 86. So I did it 4 days early and got into the jeans.
Which is incredible, Chris. A lot of people that I speak to, they say that there was a pinnacle moment Okay, a complete pinnacle moment in making a change.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to ask you, what was your kind of pivotal moment where you were like, I can no longer do what I'm doing now and something needs to change?
Well, for me, it was I was 39, and I went to go and see the doctors because I was having trouble breathing at night, and I sort of, after the trip to Dubai in those photos, I sort of grasped that something wasn't right. So I went to the doctor to get a checkup, and I went in there, and he said, "Okay, let's jump on the scales." And they were quite heavy. They went up to 25 stone, and it just bust. And he goes, "Right, okay. Think we'll need to send you to the hospital to get weighed, or you can pop around the corners to the Wool Warehouse and jump on the weigh scales there if you want to." And he said, "Go to the hospital, get the test at the hospital, come back in a week, and then we'll go through everything." So I traipsed to the hospital, and I didn't even look at what they weighed me because I was just too scared. And then came back a week later, went into his waiting room, and noticed that there was an extra wide chair in, like they used to have at Jeremy Kyle show. So they'd even put something for me to sit down in because I wouldn't have got into the normal chair. And he sat down and he goes, "Tibbsy," and I knew him because from rugby. He goes, "You're going to be dead before you're 50." And I'm like, "Right, okay." He goes, and I'm not joking with you. He says, "You're borderline diabetic, your cholesterol levels through the roof, you can't breathe because all the pressure's around your organs." And he says, "In fact, I'm surprised you're still surviving at the moment. So, you're going to have to make some drastic change." And I think that was the wake up of being told that, I wouldn't see my 50th birthday. And it just shook me. And throughout my life, I've been able to lose weight, but I'd never consistently done it. And I'd already sort of yo-yoed. And I think this is part of the journey I've been on, is even after that notice, I then took some drastic action in my life. I left my wife. I moved to London, and I put the sole focus was back on rebuilding my life because there were some issues that had been building within me in all of those years. And if I didn't deal with them, I wouldn't have been around to survive. And I had to put, and a lot of it I realize now was the mental side of it. And I think everyone thinks that, weight loss is all about just diet. And yes, it is. You eat less and you move more, and yes, you'll lose weight. But if you don't actually deal with the mental and emotional side of it, then all you're going to do is put weight back on.
Yeah, I agree. Something I say to people all the time is transformation starts from the neck up. And it's the most important thing to understand is that, as I say, only you can do it. And sometimes in order to make an extreme change, you need to go to extremes to do it. And a lot of that comes to changing your environment completely. And obviously being incredibly selfish, because a lot of the time, we see being incredibly selfish as a bad thing. But there are times that warrants it, especially, drastic times. And, something that you said to me in your notes was, you got to 2011, you made the change, you lost a lot of weight, and then you were kind of battling between 18 and 24 stone. Yeah. So what changes did you need to make in 2017? Because I think with any kind of transformation, there's stages with it, isn't there? It's not just, people think that the story sounds great. 2011, you got told that you need to make a change. You're 100 kilos lighter, end of story. When there's so much, everyone, but then, that looks nice on an Instagram minute clip, but it's not the reality of what it is. No. Something like that journey, which you've been through, up until now, the journey is never ending, but there is always that kind of pinnacle moment where something needs to change again. From what it sounds like to you, that it was 2017. So just want to take us through what was going on kind of in that kind of halfway point.
Yeah. So in 2000, I think this is, so obviously throughout that period of time, I was really good at losing weight. And I think what happened is there were some coaches who really taught me the good basics on fitness and nutrition. But I never dealt with that emotional side of it. And in 2017, I was in my job at the time, and it was really stressful, and it caused me to the verge of a breakdown. And I found myself one day in a Starbucks with two cinnamon swirls, a caramel macchiato, and then 4 hours later, I woke up and it was gone, but I can't remember those 4 hours. So I realised that I'd had an issue, and then for a couple of months of that, I was just dealing with the mental side of it, and I'd realised that my eating had just took control again, and my weight was gradually going up. And then we won an award, and there was a photograph taken, and I looked at it and I saw it, and basically I saw that guy again who was in those photos from 2011, and I just got home to Carmen and my wife, and I just broke down and I went, I can't believe I've done it again. I can't believe what's happened, and I just realised that at that point I can't out train my diet. I can't I just cannot make those changes without dealing with the emotional side of my issues. So I was speaking to a good friend of mine, Ruth, and she was explaining to me about Overeaters Anonymous. And I'd never really heard of it, didn't even understand it. I'd heard of alcoholics and gamblers. But so I reached out to them, and all of a sudden it sort of started to make some sense. And I realized that I had a problem with eating, and I had an addiction, and that I couldn't control it throughout unless I addressed it. So in complete secrecy, I spent 6 months at Overeaters Anonymous. My wife didn't know, nobody knew, dealing with the emotional side of my eating and getting that under control. And then I came across Paul Mort, who introduced me to this whole different mindset of accountability, of taking responsibility, and just setting yourself realistic goals about what you're looking to achieve. And that just sort of blew my mind. And by putting the work I did with Overeaters Anonymous with the work Paul on the mindset, I found some new trainers who I could work with, who understood me and understood what I wanted to work at. So I worked with a guy called Luke Hampton at Train in Sandbach, and it was the first time that I could work one-on-one with somebody who actually got me and understood where I was coming from with my addiction, and could understand that it's not just about telling me to eat this or do this, but actually the whole holistic side of it. And I think that was the breakthrough for me, where it was just realizing that I have a problem and I need to deal with that problem, and it's never going to go away. I forgot to say when we met, I should have said my name's Chris Tibbetts and I'm an overeater, but we're not in a meeting, so you're okay. But I am, and I have to accept that every single day. And if I don't, then the darkness, as I call it, can befall me, and I can easily slip off the wagon. And I can't, and that's probably why I've moved into this new area of my life, realizing that I want to change other people. I've been there, I've understood it, and I really want to work hard on helping people through this, because until you've been there, you can't really understand it. And then it's making people move from, I'm going to go on this diet, I'm going to do Slimming World, I'm going to do this. No, unless you address what's the fundamental cause of your weight gain, then as you say, it's from the neck up. It's not about going to the gym, or it's dealing with the mental side of it.
It's incredible you said that, because my first book, the first chapter, was pretty much that. People come to me saying, I want to lose 4 stone. And my question was why are you 4 stone overweight in the first place? And it's then really digging deep into that question. And there's a great kind of thought process called the 5 whys, where there's something that you're angry or annoyed with. It's asking yourself why 5 times to get to the root cause of why that is an issue. And some of us don't really peel away those layers to find out what the actual issue is. I think I've already spoken this year about alcohol for me. It's been a very difficult thing to give up this year purely because I use it in so many ways. I use it to relax. I use it for a bit of creativity. I use it to when I'm stressed. And it has a lot of similarities. One of the issues with it is that, spent as being an ex-squaddy, spent over 15 years using it like that. So it builds up strong habits and overall doesn't affect me too much with my work and that, which makes it probably even worse because there's no negative feedback loop for the habit. And I think it gets to a certain extent where it becomes too late. So one of the hardest things for me to do this year was to let everyone know on social media that I'm not drinking for the rest of the year. And it's something I didn't want to do because it's like, right, because if I say I've got to do it, I've got to do it now.
Yeah.
And it's a real battle, it's like something that you're not willing to address, but then suddenly you're like, no, actually, when most people want to wind down, they can have a couple of drinks, but you want to go out for another, see which bars open next, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is pre-pandemic, and you realize you've always been like that. And you tend to always hang around with people who are like that. So you're the ones that are coming in 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you think it's cool because you don't do it that often and everything else. But you're like, well, no one else is doing that. And all these kind of things, you kind of think, well, hang on a minute, it's easy to say you don't have a problem because you're not waking up in the morning and down in a bottle of vodka. But at the same time, it's still a problem that has a control over you. Yeah. And something that I found many years ago was stoicism. What obviously that teaches is control the things that you can control and let go of the things that you can't. But when you have something that is within your control, that is controlling you, it sometimes needs to go to extremes to address that problem. And that problem doesn't just go away after 6 months. It's something, as you said, Chris, it's something that will always lie dormant in you that needs to be constantly needs to have accountability, and you constantly need to address and not ignore. Because it's very much like this ostrich analogy. It's very easy to put your head in the sand and wish it away, but it just makes the problem worse.
I know I can easily slip back. I know from personal experience in 2019 that I was out in Germany for 9 months in a really stressful environment, and I put weight on because I forgot about training, I forgot about my nutrition, and all I focused on was doing work. Was doing that, and I completely put aside everything I taught myself. No, it didn't go back to the extremes of what I had because I had some control over it, but I still fell off the wagon to a certain extent because I didn't keep track of myself. And I think for me in particular, the triggers are important. You talk about alcohol. I know for a fact that I play rugby and sometimes I go out with the lads after the game, but quite often I can't just have 2 pints, because if I have more than 2 pints, I know the kebab shop's calling, and I know that it'll be a chicken kebab, it'll be a pizza, and then booze to one side, it'll be the food that will do me the damage, not the booze, because I'll be out of that zone, and my mind will be blinkered by the alcohol and be, oh, it's okay, don't worry, and I'll have just undo lots of work. So for me as well, and just triggers are really important. I know that I can't eat chocolate hobnobs because I can't have 1 or 2. I'd have to have a pack, so I have to avoid chocolate hobnobs. And Domino's pizzas, Domino's pizza, they must put something on their coatings, because I can eat a normal pizza, no problem at all. But Domino's, either the sauce or something else, I will just devour Domino's pizzas. And it's very weird, but I understand that. And by dealing with the work and looking at those triggers and looking at how these things affect your development, affect your thinking, actually that's half of the battle, because you can exercise, you can have a healthy diet. And one thing I've seen about the past, people go, oh, I'm cutting this out, I'm cutting out. Apart from my trigger foods, which I have to deal with because I'm an overeater, I don't cut food out of my diet, because it's about moderation. It's about, why on earth would you want to deprive yourself something you enjoy? What you have to do is not eat excess of it. That's the thing. And I think if you start denying yourself foods, then you're putting yourself on a path. And I hate the word diet. Diet is just a really bad word. It's about your lifestyle and your eating habits, not your diet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I always say, a diet, as in the pattern of eating. A diet is something that is enjoyable, maintainable, sustainable, and you can see yourself doing it a year from now.
Yeah.
But if it's causing misery, if it's causing deprivation, and it's causing you, thinking, oh, I can't wait to be off this, and it's probably not the right thing for you to do. And I love what you said about with regards to hobnobs. Something I always say is reduce or remove. If you can't, if you can't reduce something down, then remove it completely. And a lot of people just don't kind of understand that. Same with alcohol. With me this year, it was just like, right, okay, I'm just going to drink on weekends. I'm going to have a no school night policy. And then you're like, oh, well, it's Sunday. Well, Sunday's still the weekend, so I'm just going to have a bottle of wine and then be okay. And then you kind of kick the arse out of that, and then a bit more stress comes in. Oh, well, we'll do Wednesdays as well. And then, just that kind of just one analogy, like people say just that one.
Yeah.
What they don't understand is, and I love this quote, and it's easier to be 100% than it is to be 99.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is so true, because when people say just one more, you're like, well, then I'm 99%, and that's a lot more difficult. So it's understanding those your own patterns and triggers, which, hats off, Chris. I think self-awareness is one of the hardest things for people to have, because they really need to look at themselves in the mirror and go, what do I need to change? Because it's so easy for people to go, it's somebody else's fault, or somebody else is to blame for this. And I think when you take full responsibility for everything that happens, both good and bad, understanding that, there's a lot of things in life that you can't control, but you can control how you respond to it. And good and bad things happen. And it's all part of the journey of life. Embrace the good as well as the bad, because if you didn't have the bad times, then you wouldn't actually appreciate the good times.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the things we're working with, in our new business is coaching that with people, is saying to people about, acceptance, because, you can spend all the time in your life blaming everybody else, but you just have to have that acceptance. And one of my first questions when I work with people is going, are you ready for the change? Because you hear people go, I need to lose weight, I need to do this, I need to change my life, I need to change my life. But are you ready to do the work? Because it's okay saying these things, but if you're not ready, then it'll be a waste of time, and it'll be a waste of money, and a waste of effort on everybody's part. Because until you're at that point of going, I accept I need to change, then it'll be just nobody will benefit from it. And I think that's what we've been looking at in our program, and that's what we've been trying to do. Dom and myself are just looking at how we can address these issues that people have, because putting weight on, you ate the food unless you've got that medical condition, you'll have put the food in. Why did you put the food in? Why did you eat? What addressing all of those issues, because if you don't, then I would yo-yo. Everyone will yo-yo. Unless you address those issues, then you're just going to be back to square one every time.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about Transform 365, because you've left your corporate job now, and this is obviously, is this your full focus now?
It is completely, yeah. So I left my job in September, and basically, I realized that I wanted to help people. I'd been through this journey, and it wasn't until I was delivering some training for one of my coaches, Alex Myers, in his program, that I realized that I have a passion and I have a power that to help people and to really change and impact people's lives. And I was looking at doing some executive coaching at the time, and then I realized that actually my real passion sits in transforming people's lives and taking people on a journey, to get their lives back. And I think in Transform 365, we adapt it from both angles. We do an entire year-long program where we'll sit with you, we'll go for a plan, we'll look at what your issues are. We won't even talk about diet, exercise, anything like that until we actually get to the underlying reasons of what are causing this at the beginning. And a lot of it is listing the causes. We do deep dives into things, into the root cause of the issues, and then we formulate the plan. And what's important for us is accountability. We focus on accountability to people to get their results, because it's okay giving people a plan or chase it, but actually you just need to be on with them and make sure they deliver their results. And a lot of it is every morning, give us your 3 priorities. Have you hit those priorities? What is your target? Have you done what you said you're going to do? Because if you aren't doing what you said you're going to do, then you're never going to get the results you need. And then on the flip scale, we do a 28-day Kickstarter where people can start to understand about the habits. It's very much about habits and creating discipline. Everyone goes, "Oh, I'm motivated." You'll see it in January, aren't you, Jeremy? Everyone's going to go, "Yeah, I'm going to lose weight," and about a week in, it's, "Oh, well, that was hard. Best of luck next year." And for us, it's it's not about motivation, because when motivation fails, all you've got left is discipline, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something that I've been saying as a quote this whole pandemic period, and it's motivation is doing things when you feel like doing it, and discipline is doing things regardless of how you feel. And I think it's so important. And discipline and commitment are the 2 things. There's a Les Brown quote: "Commitment is doing the thing that you said you'd do long after the mood in which you said it has passed." And that is essentially all of us, because we commit to things in our normal, warm, comfortable environments, and then when we get out of that, we realize just how difficult it's going to be. And it's then turning up regardless of how you feel and showing up every single day. That's what makes the difference. And yes, it's difficult, but when you start to see the results from your actions, they become a lot easier.
Yeah, it does. And I think it's also, I think you touched on it before, it's about when you change your environment, it's surrounding yourself with people who are going to support you. I'm really lucky in the fact that obviously I work with Paul, and I'm in a number of his programs. I'm in his Elitex, which is his top level program. And getting that level of support and being with those people means you are always constantly raising your game. And I always say to people, try and do it on their own. Don't try and do this on your own. Whatever it is you want to achieve in life, never try doing it on your own. If you do it around people who have the same goals and the same values as you, then you're going to succeed. And I think for us, it's very much about doing that. And I think, picking your role models, picking, the people you want to look up to, people who want to guide you, because I think from that point of view, coaches, mentors, I've got multiple coaches. I've got a mindset coach, I've got a business coach, I've got a personal trainer, and I've got a performance coach for my triathlon. So I know I have to invest in the right resource and the right people to get the results. I could download a book, I could read something, but that's not going to give me the level of accountability. If you don't put any skin in the game, you're never going to get the results.
Yep, completely agree. And I think it's so important. And when people look at skin in the game, sometimes they look at a financial skin in the game. And a lot of people will use that as an excuse. Say, well, I haven't got the money to afford a coach. And I'm like, well, the thing is, you don't need to pay a lot. And actually, accountability to others is a huge skin in the game, because we quite easily let down ourselves, but we find it very hard to let down others, especially when we've told them our plans and they're checking in to see that we're doing them.
Absolutely. I think, and you say public accountability. There's nothing but, as you said about your no drinking this year. You made it public on your socials. Well, you're going to have hundreds of thousands of people calling you out if you go and have a drink, Jamie. So there's nothing. We've got so much accountability there, and I'm the same. I've got obviously the guys in Unstoppable. I've got my rugby guys. I post things in the group if I want to make sure I hit a fitness goal. When we thought we might have played rugby this year, and I was doing the pre-season. I was posting every day in the group saying this is what I'm going to do. And if you didn't, they'd soon be calling out going, "You didn't do that training session, Tipsy. I didn't see you down the club. What was going on?" And that level of accountability is just great. And I think, we find that we're doing a program with the guys at the moment during lockdown too. And, the results are getting great. You've seen people actually really changing their mindset and really changing their game. And I think I'm really surprised, not surprised, wrong word. I'm pleased and engaged that they're actually getting these results, because I think I would have gone, I didn't think you would do that, but they've actually stood up and they're getting the results, which is for us fantastic. So
that's fantastic, Chris.
Yeah.
I just want to say firstly, thank you ever so much for coming on. It's been such a great insight. And if you could leave, I know we've kind of summarized lots of great things in this, Chris, but if you could leave someone with 3 quick tips going into 2021 to get success with their body, brain, and business, what would they be?
They would be set realistic goals. This is, if we're looking at a weight loss goal, it's not a sprint. This is a rest of your life change. So you need to set a realistic goal, and do not be disheartened if you do not get the results in 3 weeks you're expecting to get. It's about sticking, and make sure that you have that, you're clear on that goal. The second tip is accountability. Make sure you surround yourself with people who will hold you accountable. And if the people in your current peer group are not serving you, then I would suggest you find a group who will serve you. And that doesn't mean just getting with all your friends, but if the group you're with now do not serve your objectives, then I would find people who will serve you. And then I think the final one is do what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to do something, do it, because the only person you're going to let yourself down is yourself.
Fantastic. And if anyone wants to find out any more about Transform 365, where can they go, Chris?
Go on Facebook. We've got T Transform 365, and Instagram is T Transform 365, or our website at www.transform365.co.uk.
Fantastic. Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. And ladies and gents, if you really enjoyed this and you think others will benefit from it, please share on your socials. And I will be back tomorrow for another Lockdown Live. Chris, thank you ever so much for coming on today.
Thanks very much, James.